right, good morning, you sons of bitches. Let's do this. Our day off to the right start. Well, what am I meant to call people? I mean, really? You know? I can see you two. I can see you two immediately judging me for being so mean and calling people sons of bitches. But I mean, really, there are worse things you could call people. Jack Motlanthe is here and Leigh-Ann Mole is here. It is a Monday morning on cliffcentral.com. And yes, most importantly, you are here and we're here to look after you. Start your day properly. Get all the shit going properly, you know? Start her up. So, what do we have? We have the comments section alive and well. First of all, how are you, Jack? Nice to see you.
I'm good. How are you, big guy? No complaints, man. How are you doing?
Awesome. I have nothing to moan about. I had actually, can I moan a little bit? I mean, like just a little. I promise I won't do it a lot because it is Monday and there are going to be a lot of people moaning. That's how it happens.
All right.
So I had a fairly quiet weekend. I did go out for lunch with some people on Saturday, some friends of mine who I haven't seen for a while. And that was really fun. I don't know if I ate something there. It was good food, though. It was really good food. I got home early, like 9:30ish, right?
From lunch.
Well, yeah, it was a long lunch.
It was a good lunch.
we ended up going to one of the girls' houses, and we ended up having like drinks there and all the rest. But I got home at about 9:30, which is not too bad. Anyway, I woke up because I went very shortly after that. I went to sleep. I was like, tired. It's been a busy couple of days. So I went to sleep, woke up, and I just felt like absolute shit. I don't know what was going on with me. It was a stomach thing, a head thing. It felt like a really concentrated flu, and it lasted for the whole of Saturday night into Sunday morning. And I thought, oh no, because I can't afford to be sick this week. We're moving offices at Cliff Central, and we've got a ton of things to do. So I just kept thinking, oh, no, don't be sick, don't be sick. I mean, luckily I woke up this morning feeling much better, but for a little bit there, I was quite worried. You know, when you're not sure what it is and you're not sure where it comes from, or think, oh no, this mustn't be one of those 3 or 4 day things, please. And you just beg, you pray. You're like, no, not now. Anytime but now. I've got so much to do.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm allowed a quick moan on my side.
All right, let's go.
I dreamt the whole night that my left eye was really sore. And I woke up and I have conjunctivitis in my eye. My whole left side of my face is swollen.
Oh, Leigh-Ann.
No. Yeah.
It's horrendous.
It's pretty bad. So that's how my Monday's starting. So it'll be off to the pharmacy to get some
eye drops.
Yeah. See how that goes.
I actually feel a little bit out of place right now because I don't have a single thing to moan about.
That's lovely.
Well, that's very nice. I mean, listen, that's the way to be. Good for you, man. Good. No complaining. We won't have any of that from you. At least there's somebody who's pulling their weight.
Whatsoever.
Yeah.
Good for you, man. All right, so we've got a lot to get into today because obviously, Mondays you have to catch up on all the stuff that happened over the weekend.
Right.
And Shane, before we all stop moaning, Adam says, "Good morning from my hospital bed in Dubai. Looking forward to Lekker show. Love you, ass."
Sure.
Well, that's nice. But the problem is he's in a hospital bed in Dubai.
But if you are going to be in a hospital bed, it might as well be in Dubai. Yeah. There are worse places to be.
I'm kind of thinking, is your bed made out of gold?
Well, here's the funny thing, right? So to put a positive spin on this is when you feel great, you just take it for granted. I think I said this somewhere towards the end of last year. You just wake up in the morning, you're like, okay, let's get going. You find other things to moan about. That's what people do. So it'll be, oh, well, I'm bored with my job, or, oh, I have to sit in traffic, or, oh, I've got to do all these things today. But when you're feeling shitty, that's the only thing you think about.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I think it's to a certain extent, it's human nature, right? Like we more often than not overlook the things that are right in front of us and look for things that are too far from, where we are. Like, I'm not sure who said this, but I heard it. Most probably it was a TikTok video or something like that, where it says the guy was basically pointing out that a healthy person has got 1,000 things on their mind that they want, but a sick person only just thinks of one thing. That's to get better. So it's just appreciation. That's just how human beings are.
Yeah,
Right.
we always want more. The better things get, the more you want.
And what we don't have.
That's human nature. You're very right.
Any fun stuff over the weekend from you two?
I'm pretty excited because I bought I thought it said mini dick ups, but it's a mini UPS. I thought it was exercises for men who felt incompetent. But but that seems to be working because load shedding started at 6, so all seems good. I see it's not powering my laptop though, so
it's probably too small to power up the laptop. I mean,
no. Well, I'm also running off of an inverter in the main house, so I'm trying to figure out what plugs work and what doesn't. So, rookie error. If you lose me, it'll be my laptop battery that gets me in the end. But we're looking good so far. So yeah, just finding ways to survive and listening to people's theories of what's going to happen, following what's happening at Eskom, feeling tired of the bullshit, but also feeling a little bit positive. They said to us, okay, now it's going to be a permanent thing for 2 years. Then they said, but the worst of it is over. So now it'll just be stage 2. And just, it's what everyone's talking about. You can't avoid it. And it affects every single step in our lives. But, like, let's focus on the positive. We're not in a hospital relying on a ventilator, that sort of thing.
Well, Jack, first of all, what's your opinion on all of this? Because we haven't really talked to you, and it's become the central issue for every South African. It's all that anyone talks about anymore is load shedding, and you can't help it. I mean, it is overwhelmingly our focus for every conversation we're having at the moment, whether you like it or not.
True.
We've just got to deal with it, right?
Yeah, but my thing is this, right? So I think it was last year. I went on Facebook, and you know how Facebook like puts together your memories and all of your old posts. So one showed up from 13 years ago where I was complaining about load shedding. And I don't know, to me, if we're going to be complaining about something for a decade, it feels like we shouldn't be complaining anymore. Like it's either we're going to do something about it, like to actually do something about it, or just stop bitching and moaning. Like we need to pick one, like genuinely, because ultimately, like what have we solved in the past 10 years? We haven't solved anything. We still have the exact same government, the exact same people who put us in this situation. So it seems it's either stop bitching and moaning or do something about it. That's my opinion right now.
Well, I agree with you, and on that, do something about it.
That's where I'm at.
I think
because honestly speaking, like anything short of that is just a waste of time.
Yeah, and people increasingly are going to go, well, like Leigh-Ann just did, I'm going to buy this little device, which will help me to just get through those couple of hours of load shedding, and I will find a way of sorting this out without needing anyone else, without requiring the help of the government. And I reckon that that's probably what people are going to do. I mean, I've had to spend way more than I would have liked to have to put in solar here at home, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to keep doing what I have to do. But now that I've done it, I don't need them as much. So Eskom is not going to be my problem anymore. It's going to be all those poor people in the country's problem now, unfortunately, because as much as I can get away from them, I will. And over time, because I've spent kind of the minimum I had to get through load shedding and to try and save some electricity costs, but I'm eventually going to try and get off the grid completely. And once I've done that, then I will not need Eskom anymore, and I will stop paying Eskom. And when I stop doing that, and thousands of South Africans stop doing that, then how's it going to survive? It won't.
It feels like we don't have any other option at this point. Like we're just steadily being pushed in that direction. So your heart would go out to the people who would not be able to afford to get off the grid totally. But at the same time, you have to kind of figure out what's best for you. So if you are in a position to get um, power from alternative sources, then more power to you. But
Hmm.
for the majority of the country, I think it's just about time we actually do something about it. Like at this point in time, it seems as if load shedding is not a problem to the ruling elite, if I can put it that way. If we are
No, they
going
don't
to
care.
do something about it, I would think that we need to make it their problem somehow. Like we
Hmm.
have to show up at their doorstep with this as a problem. Otherwise, nothing's going to change.
Well, the other thing is that I think a lot of people are just also sitting around and they're going, well, I can't rely on these guys anymore, and as a result, I'll have to make my own way. But obviously, they're not thinking about the survival of ESCOM. And I see that AfriForum are going to launch their own power generation business, which is
Hmm.
interesting. So they've decided, as they have with a university that they've got just up the road here from me, they started a university that specializes in engineering, maths, sciences, the kinds of things that we really need in this country. And they've said they are not going to be doing what other universities are doing, where they put, all sorts of policies in place to try and give preference to people who really are not by merit getting the preferences that they should. And they're saying, no, anyone can come to our university. It's not just for Afrikaans people or whatever, but you have to get the right marks. And we are only
Mm.
interested in your marks. And they've got, I mean, from what I've heard, they've got like unbelievable numbers of people who want to be admitted there. They're choosing only the best ones. And you mark my words, within what, 5 to 10 years from now, that little Afri Forum or whatever it is university, it's called, I think, Soltech, they will have the best students in the country, and all the other universities will be trailing behind. Not because they've got, they speak Afrikaans or because they're racist or any of that shit, but because they're just going for merit. And they will churn out some of the best black and white engineers, doctors, scientists. They'll make the difference because they're only looking at merit. They're looking at individual people and saying, those are the people we want because those are the best people. That's the way it's going to work. And the same will happen in business eventually, too.
Yep. It essentially needs to come down to competence, right? Like it's either
Correct.
you can do the
Yeah.
job or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, all right, let's talk about some fun stuff because we have to start every day with load shedding, but now we're going to move on. So, so how were your holidays, Jack? Did you get to go away? Did you take some time off, or were you at home? Were you just chilling? What kind of stuff did you get up to? I know it feels like a long time ago because it's already the 23rd, for heaven's sake.
Yeah. No, I got up to a lot of fun during December. So I think I mentioned this to you the last time I was on the show. My
Mhm.
friends and I started Desert Green Africa. So we shut down operations around the 15th of December.
Just
Um,
remind people what your business is there.
So Desert Green Africa is essentially is a marketplace for fresh produce. So we get fresh produce from small farmers, and then we put it on our platform where people like street vendors and street cooks can have access to those vegetables. So they basically buy the produce from us, and we
Mm.
kind of make sure that the farmer doesn't get screwed over, and also that the people that want vegetables don't get screwed over either in terms of price, because
Right.
the fresh produce markets in this country have got a bit of a monopoly going on. So we're kind of the middleman at this point in time. So
Mm.
we we shut down operations around the 15th of December, and between then and New Year's Eve I was basically lazing around. Went to an event called Smoking Dragon for New Year's Eve.
What's
We
that?
got there on the 30th, came back on the 2nd, and it
So,
was
so not
absolutely
Burning Man, but Smoking
absolutely
Dragon.
epic. We
So
were,
what is
excuse me, I
Smoking
didn't get
Dragon?
that, Leigh-Ann.
I was saying it's so not Burning Man, just a Smoking Dragon.
Yeah, it's a Smoking Dragon. Interestingly enough, so um, it's basically a camping event. You go out there and you camp, and there's multitudes of stages everywhere. And weirdly enough, well, not weirdly, interestingly enough, for New Year's Eve, for the crossover into the new year, they
Mhm.
burnt this big big wooden dragon. Like it was this, man-made structure, and they just put it on fire. It was absolutely epic. So yeah, that's how I spent my December. Basically, shut down work on the 15th, hung around for a little bit until the 30th, and from the 30th, it was just a party every single day, basically.
Wow, well done. That sounds amazing. All right, so the Smoking Dragon, is it like a outdoor festival as well?
Yes,
Is
it
that the whole
is.
idea?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you have a lot of drunken high people dancing around, having the best time of their
Oh
life.
my goodness. Man, I don't
Wow.
think I was sober for a single day. Like
Oh
my
no.
friends and I showed up with every single fun drug that you can think of. And yeah, it was unbelievable. I think the so it takes place in Harrismith, and just the lay of the land, the way it looks. Every morning you wake up, literally a breath of fresh air every single morning. And I honestly don't know how the people in that area just live from day to day. Like I would be in awe every single morning. I don't think I'd have anything to complain about if I lived in that area. But yeah, it was one
Did you
of
say
those
it was?
experiences that I'm not
Where was it?
quick to forget. Excuse me?
Where was it?
Harrismith.
Harrismith.
It was in
Oh,
Harrismith.
okay. Sorry, your audio keeps going on and off, Jack. So I'm not sure
Yeah,
what's
It
happening.
might be like a connection
what's
issue.
yeah. I'll figure it out. I'm sure. I think
No problem.
I'm smart enough to do that, but I'll sort it out. Um, but yeah, and it's always interesting for me to bump into people that share the same kind of sentimentalities as I do. I'm somewhat of a tree hugger. I really don't like the city that much, so being able to go out into the open space is just it's amazing. So I had a great
Oh,
December.
man. That's very cool. I love that. I think that's an awesome way to also see in the new year and everything else. I think it's great to
For sure.
listen. The only thing I will say is that I was sitting with these friends of mine on Saturday for lunch, and we were all first thing I said to them, because they all sat down. It's a couple, and then there was another girl who's married to another good friend of mine, and so it started off with just the four of us, and then it ended up being five, and then there were more people later on. But we were all sitting down, and as we sat down, the one said, "Whoa, I'm so hungover from yesterday," and the other two were like, "Oh, us too." So I looked at the three of them. I said, "Hey, listen, do you think we're alcoholics?" Just because, around this table, there were 3 out of 4 who were feeling pretty hammered. And the funny thing is that we all kind of just demurred on that one and said, no, look, what we think we are, and they defined it quite specifically. They said, what we are is weekend binge drinkers.
Mm,
So
that's
we
exactly
all
what it
agree,
is.
none of us drink during the week, right? And then we probably drink way more over the weekend than our like capacity is meant. They always give you that number of units that you're
Mm.
meant to
Yeah.
to keep healthy. They say, well, if you only have one glass of wine every 3 days, then you'll be perfectly healthy. All that kind of shit. But the funny thing was, we all decided, no, we drink enough units over the weekend to make up for 6 weeks of not drinking. Essentially.
The question is that happening every single weekend? Because then you're gonna have to compound those
Well,
6 weeks every single weekend.
well, that's okay. So that gets me onto the other thing, is that if you
My
hangovers,
connection.
if
Oh, there we go.
if I drink like you said that you did for those couple of days after New Year,
Oh,
Jack, then I'm
Mm.
a disaster for like 3-4 days after that. So
mhm.
I can't handle the hangovers the way that I used to. And
Right.
I used to handle them pretty well. I mean, Leigh-Ann can vouch for me here. I used to be very, very good. I could even go to work the next day after having a heavy day, and I would be fine. And
Mhm.
now I'm not fine anymore. Now it really hurts. So that's the one thing. The other question is, and we've brought this up so many times on the show, is South Africa an alcoholic country? Is alcohol our coping mechanism? Because I do
Yep.
think it is. I mean, like you could see during lockdown, remember when they banned booze, how
Mm.
hard that hit people. People weren't
Mm.
upset when you told them you can't go anywhere. They weren't upset when you said you can't buy X, Y, and Z. Remember, they even closed off like the garden supply sections of shops and that kind of thing. People weren't upset about that. They said you can't visit sick family in hospital. People were like, oh, well, kind of makes sense from a health point of view. The moment they said you can't buy booze, people were up in arms.
Yep.
Yeah. No, look, we do rely on alcohol a little bit too much in this country. We've also, historically, if you look at different areas of the country, the DOP system in the winelands still plays its part. It is. I don't think it's being used anymore, and hopefully not. But that culture has continued to infiltrate generations after. But if you look at countries like Australia, it makes us feel a little bit better about our consumption and binge drinking. But also our tavern culture. I heard something over the weekend that there was a community that was complaining because you could basically buy alcohol at any time of the day, 24/7, from these taverns in the area, and how it was affecting productivity. We do kind of need that, what used to be a Christian law, where you can't drink on a Sunday or purchase alcohol on a Sunday. And we as South Africans, we kind of need that control, because otherwise we won't pitch up at work on Mondays.
Yeah.
Leigh-Ann, I can already hear a couple of people saying, hey, Jesus turned water into wine. Why not drink on Sunday?
Yeah.
So but honestly, I think the example, well, the point that Gareth brought up in terms of lockdown, that actually showed me without a shadow of a doubt that South Africa is, well, we're basically functioning alcoholics, from how people reacted to even the lengths they were willing to go to make their own alcohol at home. Like there was some sort of concoction that needed pineapples or whatever whatever it was, and people genuinely, well, what I've come to see about this country is the majority of us hate our jobs. So the moment we get home, the first thing we do is just grab a glass of something, and it adds up, like on, let's just say for the first week, you'll only have that one glass. But as time goes on, the next week, it will take 2 glasses to get you to simmer down a little bit. And then a week after that, I'll have 3 glasses. And all of a sudden, in 2 or 3 months, you're basically trembling to get home, not because you want to relax, but you're waiting for that glass of beer or wine or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, there are a lot of funny comments here.
I think that's what we are, functioning alcoholics.
Letu Carlos says, George Meany, when you drive around late at night looking for a place to buy more booze, that's a bad sign. That's a very bad sign. And Nico's saying the day he made his own ginger beer and it made him itchy when he drank it.
Oh, dear.
That's got to be bad. There are farmers in South Africa that still give their workers dop in the morning just to start working.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that nice of them?
I remember living in that area in the winelands, how you would drive past the liquor store in the morning on your way to wherever. And sometimes as early as 6 o'clock, because I had to get up and do broadcasting stuff. But there were people queuing already outside the liquor store just to start their day.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you should ever. People always quote famous individuals, like they say, "Oh, Winston Churchill couldn't start his day without a whiskey or whatever." But I find it such a horrific thought, just a thought, to even touch a drink.
It just made me heave.
Yeah. even touch a drink before like lunchtime is on a weekend lunchtime. In the weekdays, nothing. But it makes me ill to even think about it. And I don't know. I mean, there are doctors who'll say to you that the worst thing you can get is pancreatitis, which could come from binge drinking. And if you want to be really, really disgusted and put off, just look up what pancreatitis is, because that'll make you feel instantly ill. And if you think, well, it's okay, binge drinking is not going to cause any trouble, but one of those things that it could cause is just absolutely horrific, because that's a nasty way to go.
Just from the name of that disease, you can tell that it's not something that you'd want to come across.
Yeah, not good at all. So here, Ancient Ether says, when I first heard stories, I actually thought it was quite considerate. And I think what Ancient Ether is talking about here is the DOP system, but obviously it's not once you read into it a little bit. Melissa says, Rachmakerkie, but she spelt it horrifically. So no one, there we go. She corrected herself. I went to the town of Darling, says Vyasan. There were 5 bottle stores in the small town area. Well, you know what they used to do in some of these places is they would open up a liquor store, funeral parlor, gun shop, and general dealer. And what people would do is they'd go to the the liquor store, then they'd go to the gun shop, then obviously they'd end up in the funeral parlor.
Police station and then funeral parlor.
Exactly. So I mean, listen, it's not good. I also wonder how much like the drug stuff has taken over in South Africa, because that never used to be a thing. But I remember people saying to me, I used to DJ in these clubs and people would drink, right? And then somewhere sort of in, I don't know, like 2015, 16, somewhere around there were a group of people at every party like this. Because usually before that, it was you wouldn't have seen it and noticed it. And I was quite naive about it too, I'll admit. But there was about a quarter of the people at these parties eventually from about 2015 who would only be drinking water. And I'd suddenly I'd go to the party organizer or the event owner or the venue place or whatever, the venue people or whoever they were. And I'd say to them, hey, explain to me what's happening here. And they would say, oh, this is such a problem, because they know, I mean, they can't always catch these people, but they know that they must be doing drugs if they're only drinking water, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that since then, that contingent has grown a lot more. Now, I make no judgment about whatever you do. Whatever you do, you do it. I don't particularly care. It's not my place to correct people's behavior. Not my place to say, oh, you should or you shouldn't. That's up to you, your friends, your parents, your family, whoever it is. And if that contingent has grown, I wonder if it's shrunk the number of people who drink.
I think, and you and I don't have much experience in clubs currently.
No, I really don't.
But as far as I can tell, just from general trends, I think the harder drugs are not as popular as they were during that time. I think it's definitely more now, mushrooms and weed and edibles and things like that. And a lot of people not drinking so much because of a more conscious, body conscious and health conscious awareness. If you're talking about the, middle to upper class. But as far as low income earners are concerned, they can't afford those drugs anyway. And they're either getting really bad drugs that can cause like instant death, or just sticking to loads of bad alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, like from what I've seen over the past couple of years, and I think, Gareth, you're right. It started about 2015, 2016, where these drugs kind of started being a bit more prevalent, or at least a bit more visible
widespread
to the rest of us that don't necessarily do those kind of things. I think it's just a combination of people learning more about the world and trying to learn or try out new things, and having access to the things that come with knowing a bit more about the world. And at the same time, I think people got bored with the things that they knew up until that point. Like, I make no secret about it. I enjoy smoking some weed from time to time, and for some people, weed is just not enough. Like, they just got to a point whereby, okay, now I know what this thing does and how it makes me feel. I think I need something a bit stronger from this point in time. And I think those that were in a position to be curious enough and have the money to actually get these things ultimately did that. And unfortunately, from the looks of things, it spread it's actually spread quite far and wide. It's like a couple of years ago, it would have been strange to come across people that would excuse themselves and go to the bathroom to do whatever it is that they're doing. But nowadays, I'm not even sure that they hide themselves anymore. Like it's just,
dude. You see people
yeah, let me just do a line of coke or whatever it is that they're doing these days. Like methamphetamines are a real thing in this country.
Again, I'm not going to judge it, but here's Boiled Prawn Shack, who says, nah, gee, there was a massive drug culture in the 90s. Those camel raves, New Year's Eve raves, super clubs, ESP, H2O, Splash, etc., ecstasy for days. Okay, so first of all, you're right. But second of all, I didn't go to those things, so I didn't know. I mean, I have friends who did, but
I was part of that culture, definitely.
Yeah, I was more into like the clubs. So I didn't go to these big like raves. In fact, I still don't even know. I mean, I've seen pictures and videos and I've heard stories about how great they were.
Didn't you go to H2O recently, Gareth?
Yeah, I popped in there last year, remember?
Yes.
But I told you it was the first time I'd done it in 6 years and 16 years. And the previous time I literally popped in and then left all in daylight. So again, my experience is limited, right? And I didn't know anything about this stuff for most of my adult life up to now. So I was really, really naive, embarrassingly naive. My friends would say to me, oh, wow, you don't realize that person is like chewing their face off because they're on fucking ecstasy. And I'd be like, no, they had to explain it to me like an idiot. So
I was definitely part of that culture. I was part of the rave culture. I used to take ecstasy and a whole lot of other things. Yeah, absolutely. And then, later on, it was the years of cocaine that I was part of too.
Look at you. You're like Prince Harry. You've done it all.
But yeah, now I think I know if people my age are definitely more into the edibles and smoking weed and microdosing and more than microdosing when it comes to shrooms and things like that. But it's kind of a little bit more mellow and less expensive than cocaine, that's for sure.
Yeah. Gisela says 2006 to 2015, when I used to go out, the most was Cocaine Central. We used to joke that the club owners put it through the vents. I didn't partake, but I was very aware. It wasn't even a secret eventually. Yeah. I mean, this is
not LSD at that stage as well. It's pretty big.
Oh, wow. Okay. Zaviasin says we did drugs at the clubs. Now it's done everywhere. A guy was ticking at 11 a.m. while we passed him. Drugs are easily available, even in the poorer areas, or especially in the poorer areas. That's also true, huh? It's not always expensive, and maybe people would rather spend their money on that than they would on alcohol. And listen, alcohol's not cheap anymore. It really isn't. I don't like drinking. I just don't trust the tap water, so I have to put whiskey in it to kill all the chokos. Wow.
Yeah. That's a great excuse if I've ever heard one.
Yeah.
Leigh-Ann, you and Gareth sound like dinosaurs. You sound like conservative parents that read something in the Huisgenoot. Please. We're trying to be honest here. I swear. I mean, like, if I knew more, I would share it. I swear to God. Wow.
I have a right to be a dinosaur because I've been through and experienced everything. It's time to chill.
Yeah, somebody says
you've put your bodies through enough.
Yeah.
Slippery Pickle says cocaine causes conjunctivitis later on in life.
Oh no. Yeah, it's more like too many cats in the bed. It's a lot more boring.
All right, so a few things that we've got to get into. So you want to check out some news quickly and have a look at what's going on in the news. Let's see what there is, because
let's see who got shot in America.
Yeah. Oh, God. There was a shooting. I mean, this is the sad thing. All right, but let's start off with this. Where do we go? Oh, okay. Hang on. We've got to get to Dr. Hanan just now, but we'll get to that just now. Jack, you've got something interesting here about Egypt joining BRICS. So BRICS, obviously Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, where the countries that have got together and decided we want to create a separate what would you call it? Economic conglomerate, apart from like the America EU one. And now Egypt is joining.
Yeah, I think that is pretty noteworthy. I was actually having a chat with a couple of friends of mine, and we were basically comparing the presidents that we've had in this country, and
Mhm.
given what BRICS is becoming, or at least what they are trying to establish, it's somewhat of a shift of power from what the world has, come to know up until this point. BRICS is something a little bit different in comparison to how the world has done things. You know what I mean? Like it's the article I was reading, it called it the de-dollarization of the
Yeah.
world, right? Because seemingly the world has been kind of forced to trade in the US dollar. So countries like Egypt joining this BRICS bank makes things a little bit more interesting. Initially, you would have in when you hear about the countries that are part of BRICS, like Russia and specifically Russia and China, one might think, okay, wait, there might be a conspiracy going on over here, given what Russia has done in the past couple of years, including China as well. You might just think to yourself that, these people are plotting to take over the world or whatever the case may be. But my friends and I were discussing if what Jacob Zuma did by putting us in the mix of BRICS, did it make him head and shoulders above the rest of the other presidents, like his predecessors and Cyril Ramaphosa now? Is it a step in the right direction, or are we just, searching for fool's gold?
Well, it's an interesting point. I mean, maybe in some ways he
So
helped.
yeah, that's the discussion we were having with my friends, and I'm not sure if Egypt joining BRICS is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just not sure.
Well, I mean, do you ever speak to he's your uncle, right, Kgalema? Is your uncle or your Yeah, he's your uncle. Do you ever speak to him about this stuff? Because he's pretty vocal in the press. I mean, when they do ask him, he usually says things and he doesn't bullshit. And I think a lot of people still have a lot of respect for him in the ANC, despite the fact that the ANC is falling apart. He's like one of those wise elders who still gets quite a lot of credit. And I think people they have a whole lot more time to listen to what he has to say than they do some of the other guys who've been there a long time.
Yeah, it's true, but I think between him and honestly speaking, like we just bullshit half of the time. We just joke with one
Oh,
another. We really do
you
not
don't
talk about
serious
politics.
Hmm.
At all. Like half of the time, my uncle and I basically watch the original Kings of Comedy and just sit back and have a big laugh, and that's about it. And it's a little bit awkward trying to have a political discussion with him, because no matter what I say, he always knows a lot more than I do. He's it's like trying to have a sumo wrestling match while you are below 4 feet in height. Like it just feels really uncomfortable. I don't like feeling like I am the obviously dumb person in the room. It's never comfortable to feel that way. So I'd much rather not have those kind of conversations with him. But I think at um, at some point, I would imagine it would have annoyed him, because you can imagine having to deal with those kind of things like politics and how things move all day, every day, and then coming home and then finding your nephew trying to ask you more questions
Oh,
about
yeah.
the very same thing you spent
It's
your
exhausting.
entire day working on. So, truthfully, we don't really speak politics at all.
Well, it's a good question you raise. I don't have the answer, but maybe by putting us into BRICS, our former president Jacob Zuma did do the country a service. That's still we still have to see. The results are not in yet. Whether or not BRICS is going to be the influence that it wants to be, we will have to wait and see. Right? I think that's the only proper answer you can give. Okay, so
because I mean, I was checking out some of the things that are happening in Egypt, like the infrastructure in Egypt is unbelievable. Like the projects that they're working on. I mean, Egypt is going to look unbelievable. It could potentially be for the lack of a better term, be the new Dubai type thing in terms of how quickly they were able to turn around that desert into,
if you look
something
at
unbelievable.
the incredible dams that they've built along the Nile, and obviously I have mixed feelings about this because there's a lot of destruction that goes with that. They're possibly covering up very ancient and very interesting historical sites with water now. They famously had to move Abu Simbel to a different location because it was going to be part of the great dam that they built there. But they're doing that. If you look at places like Sharm el Sheikh, which are just unbelievable places now with the most incredible resorts on the Red Sea that you can imagine. And yes, I think Egypt's probably, look, it's Egypt, Nigeria, and us. And the only country that slid backwards out of those three in the last 10 years is us. The other two have forged forward and will continue to. Nigeria largely because of the oil economy that they depend on, but Egypt because they're looking at the rest of this continent and thinking, I think we could do better we could do better if we're allied to the Arab world than if we're held down by the rest of Africa.
Yeah, let's not be in denial here.
All right, let's move on. We've got Dr. Hanan on now, and we've got to get to all those other news stories, but we've got some time for them. I've also got to tell you what happened in the US over the weekend. Plenty of good stuff to get to. But first, here he is. Dr. Hanan, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Good, Doc. Nice to see you. So let's just talk about this because we launched something just the other day where we're trying to get people unstuck. And if you have an issue with somebody that you need resolved, if you want to join us live for a show, free mediation session, you can get in touch with us. contact@cliffcentral.com. Don't be shy. Talk to the other person. Say, hey, listen, rather than us fighting, let's do this thing. Could be quite fun. Could also be very helpful. Where we get on with Dr. Hanan. Be no one else on the screen, just the three of you. You can be anonymous if you like. You don't have to put up your picture. And you could sort out your conflict, your situation. It could be you're fighting with your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife. Could be that you are arguing with a colleague at work. It could be that you've got some issue within the family, or it could be two friends who've got to deal with something. If you have a conflict situation, let us know. We'll help you get unstuck. Just email us, contact@cliffcentral.com. So, Doc, it's something that's affecting every South African right now, but we haven't actually delved into the psychological effects of load shedding. So let's just talk about this because I'm sure it's come up with some of your patients, and I'm sure it's something you've been thinking about too quite a lot. So what do you make of this, and what do you think the psychological effects of something like load shedding could be on people?
So it is something that I've been thinking about quite a lot, and I hear it on a daily basis, literally with every patient that come in. Oh my God, what are we going to do about this load shedding?
Right.
So there are a couple of aspects to it, and I think people should consider the following. The difference between successful and unsuccessful people. Successful people talk and invest their time and energy into something that they can control. Unsuccessful people just invest their time and energy and effort and talk about just things that they can't control, because we've discussed the coin theory many times in detail. And yes, you've got a limited amount of energy in the day. And you're the only architect, the driver that can direct that energy towards anything you want. You can direct it towards things that add value to you, or you can direct it towards things that add no value to you. And my advice always is be very cognizant and aware of investing your time and energy into something that you can control and something that adds value to you. Now, load shedding obviously is a big deal. Not having electricity affects every part and permeates every part of our lives. But ask yourself, can I control it? Can I do something about it? And my answer to you is, if you can control it, and we can delve into the psychological element of trying to control something like load shedding in a minute, because it's quite fascinating and quite interesting. But if you can control it, then you must do something about it. But if you cannot control it, then you've got to work around it and focus on elements of your life that you can control. Now, by the way, just because I say you've got to focus on other elements that you can control, it doesn't mean that it's still not an issue. I'm not saying let's ignore it, let's assume it's not there, let's turn a blind eye to it. I'm saying it's a problem, no question about it. But the truth is, there are other elements of your world that needs your attention. Are you a brother? Are you a father? Are you a son? Or do you have commitment to your colleagues? Do you have commitment to your employees? Well, all those aspects of your life demand your attention. And would you rather give those coins to those elements, or would you rather give those coins to a conversation that is literally an endless pursuit of nothing? So perhaps if we kind of delve into, can you control it? Well, there's one thing that I always tell people, I try to stay away from drama and issues and frivolous conversation. And I always tell people, if you're going to talk to me about anything, let alone ESCOM, then I want to know what I can do, and I want to know a solution. So if you're just going to talk to me about the problem without adding some value in terms of a solution, then I'd rather invest this time with you into other people that add value to my world. And the truth is, people only behave for two reasons. One, because they want to, or two, because they have to. Those are the only two reasons why people behave. So if we talk about the ESCOM story, well, are people behaving? Well, they certainly don't want to behave, whoever those people are. So we're going to have to make them want to, or have to rather. So they don't want to, but we're going to have to make them have to. The only way that you make people have to behave, listen to this, this is a very, very important psychological principle, whether you're dealing with a partner, whether you're dealing with government, or whether you're dealing with huge entities. You have to be very specific in terms of what they promise, and you have to attach consequences to not performing. So you have to be very specific in terms of what they promise, and two, you have to attach consequences that are meaningful to not performing. If you don't have those two elements, no one will behave. That is, by the way, how we design a star chart for 3-year-olds, and that is how we should design a star chart for government. That is the way to make people behave. Let them commit specifically to what they are going to do and attach consequences to not behaving. And if you do those two things, people are going to behave. So there's two elements. One, only discuss things and invest into what you can control and adds value. And two, if people are going to behave, make sure they're specific about what they're going to do and make sure that there's consequences attached to it.
All right. What do you make of that? Leigh-Ann and Jack, what do you think? Do you think we can attach specific consequences to people who are not performing and that they'll stick to them?
Listen, if a star chart or some kind of principle like that is going to kick government, the ANC and ESCOM into gear, then I'm all for it. But yeah, no, that makes complete sense. It's a case of translating that into what exactly needs to happen. Like, how do we get to that point?
I think my favorite part of what the good doctor said was it's like a star chart for a 3-year-old. I feel like that's exactly how we need to be treating the government. Yeah,
because people understand that, right, Doc? It's not like you're being patronizing. It's just that's how kids learn. That's how adults also. It kind of reactivates that part of their brain, which is like, okay, if I don't do this, then that.
Right. Because remember, we have a very primitive, childlike part of the brain that's I don't know, 200 million years old, and that part just wants immediate gratification. And the truth is, if we all acted according to our primitive, the childlike part of the brain, then society would not exist. We have to access that higher part of the brain, and therefore, in order to make children 3 years old behave, we have to ensure that there are specific guidelines and consequences attached. Now, when I deal with adults, I say, listen, we are going to create a star chart for you. And of course, star chart sounds very childlike, but if you create an adult version of a star chart, which is specific actions, rewards attached to that actions, and consequences attached to not performing, then everybody behaves. I deal with the worst of the worst of the worst addictions that you can think of. And even people that have severe addictions to whatever substance that is, the moment you attach consequences, rewards to specific actions, you will not believe the effectiveness and what we're able to take or get out of a person. And if we treated government the same way, now, for example, now the latest, I had to go to the police station to get an affidavit signed yesterday, and I got into a conversation with the police officer, and I said to her, there was load shedding in the station, and I said to her, so what do you think of the crisis? I like to get people's opinions, and I like to know what people are thinking generally. And she said, it's obviously not good. They're struggling. They shut down the station once there's load shedding. So I said, what do you think is the solution is? and she said we should privatize Eskom. And I said to her, what does it mean, privatize Eskom? And there was silence. The thing is, it's a word that people throw around, but what does it actually mean? What does it actually mean? So people attach themselves to a solution, and they think a solution without actually double clicking until they know exactly what that means, and then attaching consequences to that. And by the way, we can also relate this to relationships. If my wife says to me, I'm going to be the best wife to you, my answer to her would be, oh, well, that's lovely, but what does it mean? Because it sounds wonderful in theory, but what does it mean? How do we boil it down to actionable steps that I can attach rewards and hold you accountable with consequences if you don't? The moment we talk in general terms, it sounds wonderful, but all we're doing is kicking the can down the road, holding on to hope. But you know what happens to the can? It becomes a barrel. So unless we talk specifics and attach consequences to not performing, nobody behaves.
And as you said, those first of all, those specifics need to be very, very clear and focused. And I don't know that we've got to that point yet where we can actually give very specific instructions, mostly because most people are just parroting what they hear in the media or whatever else. Like the police officer you asked, you just go, what does that mean? And they don't know. They're like, don't know, but I heard other people saying it and they seem to know what they're talking about. We've got to do some of the hard work ourselves. It means the heavy lifting is up to every single person. All right, but Doc, just so people know, give them another idea or example of the kind of conflict resolution you do for Unstuck, so we can get a couple of those examples in, get some of those people who've got a conflict situation they need to manage.
So it could be from small stuff, for example, couples not agreeing on what they should do on a date night. Or I mentioned the example, the guy thinks that you should be allowed to go to a strip club while the partner doesn't agree with that. It could be between a parent and a child, where the child feels, well, I'm 18 years old, I can make my own decisions on whether I should smoke, whether I should go out till 3 a.m, while the parents go, you are an adult, but it's not good for you. And since you're living under my roof, I don't want you to smoke and I don't want you to go out till 3 a.m. Who's right and who's wrong? These kind of conflicting situations can really affect a relationship. And let me guide you in terms of the right direction. And again, as I said before, sometimes it's not a 50-50. Sometimes it's an 80-20. Sometimes it's 90-10 another way. But let's get on the same page, because the moment let's just agree to disagree, again, we're kicking the can down the road, and then conflict arises later on.
Just by the way, what we will do with this section with Dr. Hanan that we're going to start, Unstuck, is he will be the judge. You've got to actually sign up so that he decides, and what he decides is final. You have to go with it. In other words, there's no way out of it. Once you've made yourself subject to his finding, you have to implement it as he said. He will guarantee you results if you actually follow his findings. But if you break off from his findings at all, then you're breaking the law. You're breaking the rules that we're setting up.
Not allowed.
Right? Not allowed. So come on, let us know. Send us an email, contact@cliffcentral.com. All right, Doc, thank you so much.
Pleasure. Nice to see you guys.
Great to see you. There's Dr. Hanan Bushkin checking in with us on our Monday, making sure everything's all right in the mental health world for us. And who the hell doesn't need that first thing on a Monday? Everybody. Mm-hmm. So before we get into all the news, you did bring this up already, you two, so I've just got to tell people what it is. There was a gunman who's believed to have killed 10 people during Lunar New Year celebrations in California. Apparently, he has shot himself dead as police moved in to arrest him. That was yesterday in Monterey Park. An intensive manhunt began Saturday after a man opened fire inside a dance studio and club in Monterey Park in Los Angeles. Witnesses says he shot indiscriminately, appeared to have a lot of ammunition. 5 men and 5 women were killed. Oh, my God. Most in their 50s or 60s.
Said. So from what I briefly read this morning before we started chatting, just to catch up on it, it was in a predominantly Asian community, and that's why the Lunar New Year was being celebrated. And apparently this man walked into the dance studio and he found his wife there. That's the only sentence I read, and that was from an eyewitness. Said we were dancing and the man found his wife there. So in my mind, I'm wondering if this is not like a love triangle type thing, but who knows? Who knows?
Well, the guy's name, the suspected gunman identified by police, 72 years old. So we're not talking about some 18-year-old who's, 72 years old. His name is Hu Can Tran. I kid you not. That's the name.
Okay.
Apparently is the only gunman. There's no one else involved. The suspect sustained a self-inflicted gunshot wound that was pronounced dead at the scene. I can confirm there are no outstanding suspects in the mass shooting incident. So there's something going on here that makes this a little bit different to the other ones.
That's what I think.
For those people who also try to make all gun violence look the same, it really isn't. And this is proof. A 72-year-old doing this, we hear about school shootings. We hear about people in their 20s. We hear about hate crimes. We hear about all this stuff. But this appears to break a lot of those rules. So you can't assume anything when it comes to this kind of thing.
For sure.
All right. That's all we got time for in this hour. We're going to be back, though, with a whole lot more, including, I'm excited to say, Judith Sephuma, who's one of my favorite people. She's somebody who is just doing incredible things. So Lebo M may be able to join us as well. We'll have to see. But they are both in Dubai, and they will be joining us live from Dubai. They're doing a show over there with none other than Hans Zimmer, who is an incredible, exceptionally theatrical, popular global artist who's written unbelievable things. He's one of the greatest composers, and he's written for the Dark Knight trilogy. That's Batman, Pirates of the Caribbean, Gladiator, The Lion, James Bond, and a whole bunch more. And he is performing alongside our own Lebo M and our brilliant, talented Judith Sephuma, who are both going to be available. Oh, yeah, for sure. So they're both with us. Don't go anywhere. CliffCentral.com. It is Monday morning. Good morning. All right. Good morning, everybody. We are here. We are live. It's Monday morning. We've got Jack Motlanthe, we've got Leigh-Ann Mole, and we've got you and me. So let's hear from you. We want to talk about anything you've got on your mind. You've got a couple of news stories to get to. We've got Judith, Sephuma, and possibly Lebo M joining us just now. That's going to be fun. So we want to hear all the stuff that you have on your mind this morning. Also, if you've been watching anything cool on the TV, because people have these series that they're all into, you know, some people. It's amazing to me. I every week, someone says to me, "Oh, what? You haven't seen this?" And I feel so behind. I just haven't watched any of these series that everybody's into.
But it feels like there's 20 new series that pop up every week. Like it's sometimes a little bit difficult to keep up.
So true.
I'm in the lucky position where people have gifted me with their passwords for various platforms, and there's just too much to watch. But all the rage at the moment amongst the youth, you know, is the show called Ginny and Georgia. So it's a mother and daughter like drama, but I've already squashed 2 seasons of that. I'm all caught up. But you know, the sort of trends that you see on TikTok and all of that, that's where it's kind of showing up as a big thing, especially because the one teenage star in it is this really hot Australian guy. So that always drives interest. But yeah, it's Ginny and Georgia is the thing at the moment, if you wanted to know the trends.
So yeah, my sister's boyfriend was saying to me he got Disney Plus, and I said to him, "Oh, okay, you know, I've heard Disney Plus is very average." He's like, "No. If you want to go back to your childhood and watch like Tailspin and the Gummy Bears and all of that shit, then this is apparently the thing to have." Now, I don't have. This is so embarrassing to admit. I got to do it though. I don't have any of that stuff. I don't have Netflix. I don't have Showmax. I don't have Disney Plus. I don't have Amazon Prime. I have none of them. And I don't watch a lot of TV. So I'm definitely the exception. I'm not the rule here. And I get that. But I think there are a few people like me in the world who don't watch any TV. I've got one TV in my house and it's hardly ever on. Yeah. I do watch series, but I watch them on my laptop. So
yeah, I mean, I only use one of the platforms on the actual TV. The rest I just watch on my phone or my laptop.
Actually, you know, Disney Plus is not all that bad. I've come across a couple of really good shows on Disney. I love Boston Legal. There's this show from back in the day. I love it. When I came across it on Disney Plus, I lost my mind. I could not believe it. I was so happy.
So, Jack, has it held up reasonably well? Because I remember watching it in late 2000s, and the 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. I think that was when it came out on TV in the first place. But I remember watching it then and thinking this is the best show ever. Has it held up okay?
It has. It really has. In fact, when you compare, or at least the conversations that happened on the show back then, and how unafraid they were to actually talk about things and tackle the issues of the day, it's such a breath of fresh air. Like it makes you wonder what happened in the past 10 years for us to to be so nancy pansy, as Judge Brown would say, you know. So yeah, Disney. In fact, so Disney Plus for me is not that bad. I actually came across a series that I was watching recently. It's a short series about Chippendales. You know, the male exotic dancer club, and that story is nuts. It's absolutely insane. So the guy who started this thing is this Indian fellow, Steve Banerjee. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And you watch how he goes from this diligent guy who worked at a petrol station and saved for years and years and years, and he just opened up a club, initially trying to open up a backgammon club. And you watch how the story goes from that to him being behind bars on a RICO charge. It's unbelievably good to watch. I think you should check that out.
Okay,
It's
it sounds
called
good.
Welcome to Chippendales. It's really good.
Okay, see, this is useful information. You get some good recommendations on this show. That's the least I can tell you.
And those ones I did see, White Lotus, which I haven't got to yet. That's all the rage as well. And Wednesday, which I've also just finished.
Silenificent says, my favorite episode of Boston Legal is the chicken trial.
Yeah, that was a good episode. Really good episode.
Rajesh says 1923 and Yellowstone are two series set about 100 years apart. 1923's got Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, and Yellowstone has got Kevin Costner in it. That sounds pretty good. I won't lie, the lineup of stars there is pretty impressive. Very, very nice. All right, so we've got some good recommendations for this morning. Geez, we've got a lot to do. All right, as I said, some news. So apparently, we've spoken about this a million times before, but it's starting to become an international topic of conversation. So we started talking about it here, and now it's somewhere everyone's talking about it. A successful 4-day work week experiment in the UK and other developed countries showed workers' burnout and stress levels decreased, while the company's revenues climbed by 8%. It begs the question, could it become more than just an experiment? This is what employers, government representatives, trade unions, and strategists attending the World Economic Forum in Davos had to grapple with on Thursday. The answer is more complex than just a yes or a no. The experiment has been organized by somebody called, or some group of people called, the 4-Day Week SA Coalition. It's coming to South Africa this February. The reason for scaling it to other countries is that the 2022 experiment proved pace of work goes up as people work faster to finish 5 days of work in 4 days. They work more efficiently with meetings cut down to a maximum of 15 minutes. Now, that I like.
Yay.
It's not because you want to be a charity. This is a business imperative, said the CEO of a global talent company. His business, which is called Randstad, has trained thousands of companies in how to retain and attract the best talent. He said, flexibility is no longer negotiable because key talent is scarce. In a recent survey, his company conducted 50% of the people who said they were willing to quit their jobs if they were not happy at work. He believes since many people have experienced flexibility during the pandemic, they are now thirsty for it. You should almost start to treat your talent as your customer, he says. You ask customers what they want, so you should do the same for your staff, within limits, obviously. He said what we see today is that we're running quickly into a burnout society. And that, I feel, is like a big problem, especially if you consider, let's just think about this for a minute. If you're a parent, as well as being a really important worker at a very big company, you have a lot on your plate. You have to probably drop the kids in the morning, then you get to work, you hit the road running at work, you've got tons and tons of things to do, you go through meetings, you're in, production, you're coming up with solutions to complex problems. Then you get home and you have to, either cook or you have to spend time with the children, you have to do this, you have to do that, help them with homework, God alone knows what. This is not even taking into consideration that you might be a single parent, which doubles the amount of work. And then by the time you eventually get to bed, you're like, you're finished. Now, if you could do 4 days of really hard work and you could have a 3-day weekend, I think it would help a lot of people. I think it would make a lot of people less stressed, more happy, more balanced. And I do think that there's something to be said for this. Usually, if something comes out of the World Economic Forum, I'm very suspicious of it. But in this case, I think this is probably something we need to seriously consider.
Well, I mean, it was just recently when I told you that the experiment had been conducted in South Africa. And I think out of 4, or it was between 4 and 7 companies that took part, all of them after the experiment decided to take on the new 4-day week and kept going with it. I'm sorry to bring it up, but load shedding for people who work from home, who haven't organized themselves yet, a 4-day week wouldn't work because we already only have about 3 to 4 days worth of electricity to work with. And find ourselves finding extra hours over the weekend. That's certainly in my position. But when it comes to the office, yeah, I mean, imagine not having your boss or colleagues WhatsApp you or Microsoft Teams you for 3 full days. That would be amazing.
And I, you know, I could be wrong about this, but I think isn't Henry Ford to blame for all of this? Like the world used to work on a 4-day work week until he came up with his assembly line, and then everything just went to shit from that point.
I'm not sure it was just him, but it was that whole industrial revolution thing.
Right.
That they wanted to, so they gave people just enough, as I understand it, just enough time off of work to feel like they had a life. So it's the bare minimum. It's like these 2 days, and the one was obviously for a religious holiday. So for Jews it would be Friday night into Saturday. For Christians it would be Sunday. For Muslims it would be Friday afternoons and then into Saturday. So they were doing just the little bit that they had to do, the bare minimum. So I don't know. I mean, to me, this is it's worth giving a go. It's worth trying, and I think we should. Then there's the entertainment industry that must also work the same hours. All the people considered home like in lockdown again. No, we don't want that.
No, no. That was. I'm not sure whose comment that was, but it's not the one.
So Slippery Pickle says, if you could only get those children to wash dishes and cook food, you'd have the energy to work the next day. That's a good point. Nothing wrong with that. Children have got it.
I live next door to a family who have 2 young children. And there are certain things I'd forgotten about being a child or having children around you. Where you'll hear one of the parents at some point going, Emma, please go to the bedroom, and on top of the thing, under the shelf, next to the thing, next by the bathroom are my slippers. Please bring those. Okay, Daddy, coming. How convenient it was. How many times I look at my cats and I'm like, please go and switch off the light, please. They're useful things to have around sometimes.
Sometimes, but you look at how complicated the instruction has to be.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so that's one of the things I wanted us to pay attention to. The other one is this, that apparently, and I'm not going back to load shedding, I just think this is quite interesting. The president, Cyril Ramaphosa, has asked Eskom to halt their 18.65% tariff hike. He said that you must please not implement it yet. He was giving closing remarks at the ANC's Free State Provincial Conference. The announcement prompted a host of civil society organizations to threaten legal action in an effort to ensure that load shedding and hikes were stopped. He said, I've told Eskom that it should consider halting the hiking of electricity prices, especially for now, while our people are struggling under high levels of load shedding. He reiterated that people were frustrated because their businesses were being put in jeopardy. Many people, this is now the president, many people are reporting that their businesses are failing because of load shedding, said Ramaphosa. He added that the government had not been idle and had been making every attempt to resolve the crisis.
Well, I will say this for our president. He certainly has a firm grip of the obvious.
Yeah. There've also been, there's been a bit of relaxation on the rules if you get solar power. So I don't know if you know about that, Gareth, especially as you're in the market right now. But apparently the penalties won't be as much.
So at the moment, listen to this. At the moment, my panels are delivering 1,095 watts of electricity, and I'm only consuming 1,000. So I'm getting more into the batteries, and I'm not using any of Eskom's power right now. So that's a good thing. That's nice. That makes me feel good. And soon, I won't use any of their power. It's just a question of time and money. That's the way to go.
That's the dream. That is the dream. That is the dream.
Well, Slippery Pickles says Slippery Pickles got some interesting things to say this morning. Cats are proof of a round Earth. If the Earth were flat, everything would have been knocked off the edge already.
100%.
Wild and dangerous opinion being shared on the show this morning. We're going to get cancelled on YouTube for that one.
What? Because of round earthers and flat earthers.
Yeah, round earthers. They're the round earthers are the real dangerous crew. Okay, What did you want to say, As?
I wanted to say just a quick one. The new thing that flat earthers are claiming is that Australia is fake and all Australians are actors paid by NASA.
Yeah,
So
that makes
that
sense
you
to
can
me.
check out on Facebook. The group is called Flat Earth Believers.
Yeah, I
mean,
don't trust Australians either.
if you've ever met an Australian, you know that they're actors. You know they're not, they're pretending, right? All right, so let's get to this. I'm very excited to bring this person onto the show. Grammy Award-winning, Tony-nominated musical giant Lebo Morake, better known as Lebo M, is set to dazzle the UAE alongside fellow South African platinum-selling queen of Afro jazz, Judith Sephuma. They will perform alongside two-time Oscar and four-time Grammy winner, film score producer, and music composer Hans Zimmer at the Hans Zimmer Live special concert in Dubai. Having created exceptional music scores for tons of movies, Hans Zimmer is Hollywood's most innovative talent and film composer. Alongside his awe-inspiring 40-year career, he's also known for his exceptionally theatrical and popular global tours, where his fans can enjoy his compositions live, followed by a full orchestra. So here she is, the queen of Afro jazz, and somebody who I bumped into briefly. How are you, Judith?
I'm fine. How are you, Gareth?
I'm fine. I saw you when I was on my way back from a holiday, and I was at OR Tambo, and you know how crazy that place is. And I suddenly turned around, and someone was waving, going, "Hey, Gareth!" And I went, "Oh my God, Judith!" And I went, "Oh my!" And then I was on my way up an escalator already. But it was so nice to see you. It made that that return to Joburg craziness that much better.
Absolutely.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Gareth? Thank you so much for having me this morning. And hi, everybody.
Well, it's so nice to see you. So first of all, congratulations on this amazing, you haven't done it yet, but this concert you're going to be doing in Dubai. And it sounds absolutely phenomenal. And you're in really good company here. So tell us, how did it all happen?
From what in 2016, actually, I was selected as the top three South African artists who were requested to join the Hans Zimmer tour. And at the time, Lebo actually inboxed me and sent me this yesterday before he got on the flight. And I said, oh my God, I remembered, but I did not remember what year it was. So when that happened, I could not make the tour. And then I think a year ago, he reached out again and he said, listen, they need you again for the tour. And I said, oh my goodness, this is the perfect time. We are coming out of such an amazing time with COVID. So what better way to go celebrate the world and see the world? And I agreed to the invitation.
No, it sounds absolutely spectacular. And of course, you've worked with Lebo before, right?
Yes, I have. Lebo has always tried to get me involved. Actually, he always does it. When he calls, I just jump to it. I realized when we're doing this whole recording and publicity for this tour that he has so much footage of me singing. And I was so young, Gareth. I sounded so good. I was like, is this really me? And I was like, oh no, we have to release this. People need to hear this. People need to understand where we come from, our relationship.
What are you talking about? You still sound amazing. I don't know what this. I used to sound so good.
But Gareth, it's like realizing that this is years ago. Like in 2010, we did the World Cup with Lebo M, and that's when he firstly invited me to do something really massive with him. And we did the opening of the World Cup, and it was amazing. And I did the closing as well. And he has always tried. But let me tell you honestly, he played me some recordings, and I was shocked that I can actually sound so good. I was like, oh my God, Judith, you know what? People have to hear this. And he has to release the stuff that we have done. And as a singer, I think it's exciting for people to know that is why I always fight to be called a singer and not just, be caged to a jazz singer or a gospel singer or a classical singer. Be broad.
What kind of stuff are you going to be doing at this Hans Zimmer concert?
Gareth, I am shaking. So we are doing, Hans Zimmer is a huge film score writer, and he's written theme songs for movies like Interstellar, The Gladiator, Wonder Woman, I think The Woman King as well, and a whole lot more, including The Lion King. And I am singing those theme songs. And, my moments are like, boom, there she is. Sorry, it's so nerve-wracking. And it's this huge orchestra of about, I think there's 50 people on stage from all over the world, and everybody's just amazing. I mean, I instead of singing, I look at everybody and I'm like, oh my God, is this really happening? And the control that is here is just amazing. So those are the songs that I'm looking forward to sharing. But more than anything, the highlight for me is going to be The Lion King, because that's the most energetic, the most energetic and vibrant in the whole show.
Well, I mean, that's like Lebo's, his magnum opus really is The Lion King. And I mean, I've met and spoken to Lebo a couple of times, and I'm always amazed at how just ordinary and humble he is when you meet him. You don't realize, like, this is a guy who's written the film score to one of the most successful movies of all time. And those songs, a lot of those songs are legendary now. People sing them all over the place. They don't even realize that it's Lebo's work. What do you love performing the most out of all of those? Because there's so many well-known songs. What's your favorite thing to perform?
In the circle of life, when it comes on, Gareth, it's like beautiful. It's like you've sung all those songs, and then boom, there's the circle of life coming, and then it comes on for such a short time and out. It's like, oh no, can we do it more? But it's like the climax of the entire show for me. And also I think it's on Interstellar, the last part of Interstellar, where they added this vocal part, but it's orchestra. It's like a whole wind of instruments coming, and bam, there it is. And when Hans explains it to me, he says, Judith, just own it. When you get up there, it's power. That's your moment. And Hans, what I love about it, that's why Lebo is, who he is. Lebo shares his heart with people, and I see, because he's working with people that share their hearts with people, their gifts. And Hans said, I want all of you guys to show off your gifts.
Right.
That's what he said to us. He gave us that. He always gives a speech before we begin, and he says, this is not my show. This is our show. I want you to show off who you are, your gifts. And there's this Chinese lady, her name is Tina. Watch her perform in the show. She owns it. And she's an entertainer. She grabs you.
Do you know whether we'll be able to watch this online? Because obviously it's a Dubai concert, so there can be lots of people there. Who else is performing, by the way, besides you and Lebo and Hans Zimmer?
It's me, it's Lebo, it's Hans Zimmer. There's a beautiful, beautiful lady called Lisa. I don't know where Lisa is from. And there's Laura as well from LA. But I'm going to check if we can actually watch this online. All I know is that we are recording it. It's going to be available on DVD, and it's going to be available on audio. Yes, so we're recording. We're recording in amazing venues. We have to drive. I'm possibly going to know the entire Dubai by the time I come back home. So it's such an amazing experience, Gareth. I'm so jealous for me. It's just beautiful.
How did the rehearsals go? Because I've got this picture of you with Lebo rehearsing. So when this was just a few days ago, right?
So this is what we recorded at home. But for here, Gareth, I could not breathe. I was like, what's my part? I forgot my part to enter a couple of times, and everybody they just stop and crack up, and they would say, let's do it again. I mean, the whole me, I was so nervous, but I think the nerves got, me to realize that I still have it in me to actually learn and do great, to perfect myself, to get myself to be a better person, a better musician, a better artist, and once we got to do it, but I'm telling you now, I still don't have it right, but it sounds amazing. I just need to see the show, because we're moving to the Coca-Cola Arena, I think tomorrow. It's going to be huge. I can't wait. Yeah.
And you're going to have live audiences there, and it's going to be like a proper concert. None of this COVID nonsense where people are all watching online, right?
Yes, it's a lot of people. I don't know how many people it is, but I didn't even check that. But I know that it's a huge arena. The first night is sold out. They opened up the second night. It's almost sold out as well. But tickets are still available for people to purchase. So people should come out and see this show.
I know you're a big fan, Jack, and you asked to stick around just so that you could see
really?
Judith. say something to her. So Jack Motlanthe, go ahead.
You know what, Judith, can I, okay, firstly, hi, hello. Like,
Hi.
I cannot believe this is happening. So I'm gonna tell you a small story, and then I'm gonna move into my question, right?
Okay.
So when I was growing up, my dad only listened to Kaya FM in the
Oh,
morning,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
So by the time around about the time I started going to high school, Your Song, Cry, Smile, Dance, like,
Yeah.
was my daily anthem. I kid you not.
Oh,
Like, that song, it kind of
wow.
made life a little bit more easy for me, because
Yeah.
I hated my high school. So listening to that song in the morning just made things a lot easier. So firstly, thank you for that.
You're
But secondly, like, I keep hearing you explain how everything is coming together, but it seems as if somehow Judith Sephuma does not feel like she's up to the challenge. How is that possible? It seems like you are still in awe of things. That is amazing to me. To me, it would seem like everything is just a walk in the park. You do it, it
no.
just comes naturally.
Yeah. Listen, the biggest fear, I've always crossed paths with the most amazing people who always, spoke life into my life and kept me on my ground. I think the day I become comfortable with where I am, that's the day I should worry. And that's the day that I will know that I have lost it. You never stop learning, you never stop singing songs differently, and you never stop bettering songs like A Cry, Smile, and a Dance. I cannot sing it the same as I did 10 years ago. That's why we have arrangers, we've got people who will come and take it to another level, but still keeping A Cry, Smile, and a Dance what it is. So everything has to mature with time. But for maturity to happen, there has to be some learning, experience that goes on. So I'm like a little kid here. Trust me. I say, and everybody, by the way, everybody thinks that I'm the youngest in the whole team. They're all like, yeah, I was laughing and they're all like, you know what? I just turned 50 last year. You're such a little kid. You're still so young. I'm like, yeah.
Like, your energy is so infectious. It is so infectious.
I'm so happy. You know what? If you sit with Lebo, you will understand why.
Here he is. Look, there the man is.
Hey guys.
Lebo.
Hey guys.
Lebo.
Hey.
How are you,
Morning.
sir? Nice to see you. Are you on your way through the airport now?
I just got my luggage here. Morning, guys.
Morning.
How are you, Lebo?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you.
It's so nice of
Judith,
you to
are you
join us.
up?
I know
Oh,
you. Here's
thank you. I was just skinnering about you, Lebo, telling them about how amazing your energy is. So just like mine, like boom.
Don't lie in public. Don't lie in public. Hey, morning, guys. Sorry. I don't even know if I'll stay on long enough. I'm going through security. Actually, no, I
no
just got
problem.
my luggage.
So just quickly,
Yeah, go ahead.
just quickly, because I know your time is limited, and I really appreciate you joining us, even in the airport. But Lebo, this concert sounds absolutely amazing, and it sounds like something we should all be a part of. But I mean, so many people are only going to be able to watch it after the recordings are done. What's your most exciting part of all of this? Because we're in awe of the fact that you and Judith are over there working with Hans Zimmer, doing this amazing stuff. It's not your first time working with him, is it?
No, it's not our first concert, but it's the first one in.
No, I think we lost him.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. I think we lost Lebo. Don't worry, Lebo. I mean, he's actually literally got off a plane and joined us. So that's good enough.
Busy
Yeah.
times, sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
so here's Tracy's point. She says Judith's humility is a true sign of a creative genius. The willingness to learn, exploration abilities, and being in the moment and having fun. I love that about her. Well, I think that's all true for you. You love sort of absorbing what's actually going on in the moment, right? Right,
Absolutely.
Judith?
Absolutely. And I have this blessing of always having to work with people who have the same energy or even more, and when I get quiet, I get so overwhelmed because I'm looking at everybody and thinking, what, life is actually so good. And there's actually people that are more crazier than me. But getting into an environment that is unfamiliar is something that forces you to grow, forces you to get out of your comfort zone. And coming out of your comfort zone is important. It's important.
Well, I'm very, very excited to have both of you on the show, even if it was very. There's Lebo again. Sorry, Lebo, we lost you for a second there. You were just busy telling us. You were telling us about how you've worked with Hans before, but tell me what's in store for this concert.
Well, this is a special one. It's our first concert in the UAE. We've been doing this tour since 2014, and I've been plotting. I've had a lot of people come through, but I've been plotting, trying to figure out at which point I get Judith on this tour. And we needed to make sure that is when the big global spotlight is there, because I love Judith. I've worked with her so many times, and I needed to. Let me just pull over here. Well, I needed somebody to make. I needed to be sure that whoever's coming in is going to deliver, but I know Judith over delivers, so I'm really excited about that.
I think everybody's excited to see you two kind of doing something together. So Lebo, how long do you have to be in Dubai now? Have you just flown back there now, and you're going to go straight into the concert?
Yeah. Well, I've got 1 or 2 rehearsals and go straight to the stage. How crazy is that?
I love it.
While I'm getting my car ready. Yeah, but I'm on. Go ahead. Keep talking with Judith. She's a star, you know. I got nothing to say, but you're a star.
I'm just waiting for you. I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for him, guys. Lebo, I miss him when we're rehearsing. I said yesterday that, can Lebo please just come in the middle of the Lion King? I'm like, where is he? And they said he's coming.
I didn't know we rehearsed. Look what I'm doing. I didn't even know we rehearsed. I'm busy with my passport. Sorry, guys.
That is a very full passport. Lebo, thank you so much. We're gonna let you go and get through security. We'll speak to you soon, my friend. Cheers.
Thank you, guys. All right, good to see you,
Garrett. See you now. All right. See you at breakfast.
Cool. Thank you, Lebo. All right, Judith, have an awesome concert. So great to see you. Best of luck. And I'm sure you and Lebo are going to do us very proud, as you always do.
We will. I promise.
Thank you. Much love, my friend. Nice to see you.
Love you too, my friend. Bye.
Judith Sephuma and Lebo M. What talent.
Wow. I'll tell you what, have you been seeing clips of the Beyonce concert, which has just taken place in Dubai this weekend?
No.
And you see I've never seen a production this mind-blowing.
Really?
And if that is anything to go by, they do things well in Dubai. Okay, for this Beyonce concert, she got paid, I think, $24 million US.
Holy shit, for a one-off.
When I say the whole city got involved, from the shot that I could see, the buildings, the skyscrapers were about this big in the shot, and each one of them had a fireworks display going off. So they got the whole city involved in putting together this amazing production. She at one stage is on the stage. When I say the stage, I mean you can't imagine the size, the scale of the backdrop. It's just huge. It's something that I've never seen before. She at one stage is on a perspex platform, which slowly rises out of the stage and towers up. I'm talking building height, where she's standing on this little circle of perspex and singing and just not moving so she doesn't fall off the edge. I don't know you couldn't see any safety precautions I'm sure they were taken, but there was nothing visible to the eye. It was really powerful. I haven't seen anything like that before.
It does seem to me, and maybe you guys have the same feeling about this, but it seems to me like Dubai is trying to position itself as the world's new entertainment capital. I mean, if you think about it, it looks like they're the ones putting on the biggest New Year's fireworks display. All the best artists over there. They're trying to do all the most exciting things in Dubai because obviously their economy, they're trying to move off of oil and into everything else. They've already done it with these skyscrapers and hotels, and now I think it won't be very long before they buy the Oscars or before they buy the Grammys, or they buy up any entertainment project that they can get their hands on, because they're already spending more than anyone else, right?
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. And I mean, they've got the infrastructure to put together any kind of production in any case. So if not, why not?
Yeah. No, I think it's a great idea. And listen, I mean, I've never really been a big fan of Dubai, but I've only ever seen the airport and like a few little things outside of the airport, which haven't really. I've always thought it was kind of a fake place, but I'm starting to see some very promising ideas around like the way they're positioning Dubai as this center of entertainment and of hospitality, and it's a very forward-thinking place, and you don't have to like anything about Dubai to stand in awe of the way that they've built this incredible place out of the desert. I say good for them. If they're going to be paying people like Judith and Lebo and Beyonce and whoever else to come and entertain people there, then they're doing the right thing, because they're going to get the people coming.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's the headline, right? Like the fact that they were able to do that in that country in such a short amount of time. Like 20 years ago, we would not have this conversation about Dubai. Not at all.
Okay.
And that is in some, it's not even in someone's lifetime. It's in a couple of decades, which is, it's one of the few examples that we still have of what people can achieve when they put their minds to one goal,
Yeah, spot on, precisely. All right, some of the other things that are going on in the news that we need to pay attention to. Apparently, this is quite scary, because, juice, was it hot over the weekend? I know they say that it's boring to talk about the weather, but we supposedly were going through a heat wave. Apparently, it was so bad that there were 7 farm workers in the Northern Cape who died from heat stroke due to the persistent soaring temperatures over the province in the last week. That was in the Northern Cape. But, I mean, we had the same kind of heat here. I don't know how did you keep cool this weekend, Leigh-Ann?
I just let it all hang out, Gareth. I walked around the house with very little on, and I'm not blessed with air conditioning, but I had my fan on full, and I would lift up certain parts of my body to aerate underneath those parts, and just hoped like hell that no one could see me from the windows.
Oh, what a sexy thought.
that and iced lemon water. That was my trick for this weekend.
Yeah. I have to echo your sentiments. I mean, so I'm back home at my mom's place. So we just basically left all the doors open. I don't think I had a t-shirt on the entire weekend. It's just, let it all hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to admit that I had a little night swim all on my own, at least twice this weekend and over the course of last week. And there's nothing better. And like, you've got the stars. It was mostly a clear sky. There was very little cloud around, and it's beautiful. I mean, like, this is the summer that you want in South Africa. But even having said that, it does get so hot that you find yourself unable to do anything. You're just like completely lazy. You sit around and you feel like you've been drained of all energy.
Yeah, it takes a lot, and you kind of end up getting a headache from the heat, and you can't even think anymore. Trying to sit at a laptop and work is very challenging. You just want to just survive the day.
We may not have their money, but we've got Dubai weather at the moment, so we'll take that.
Yeah,
right.
That's pretty clear.
Oh no, Basitsana says it's going to get hotter this week, according to the weather report. Jesus, really?
Yeah.
How much hotter can we get? Really?
Yeah, warnings have been sent out about this week. So we'll see how that goes.
I saw some weather report a couple of days ago that suggested there might be rain this week, and now I'm hearing something completely different. Oh my God!
I think I counted 14 drops of rain the other day.
Yeah, on Saturday, I think. Yes, was it Saturday? No, Friday evening. In Soweto, there were a couple of drops. Like it was I wouldn't call that rain at all. It was like a couple of drizzles.
Bullshit.
Yeah,
It-
no,
yeah,
they dried up before they even hit the ground.
yeah. The sky decided to sneeze. That was about it.
I had
what we need is a good cough fart combo from the sky.
I had every intention of like doing some exercise this weekend, and what I did do is I pretty much lost weight just through sweating over the course of the week. But I didn't do any. I was going to go to gym. I was going to do all kinds of stuff, and none of it materialized because it was just too hot. So I'm not even embarrassed to admit I was useless when it came to that stuff.
No, absolutely. I think I made it to the shops and did 2 bags of groceries, which always ends up being about 1,000 Rand for some reason.
Oh.
Got home, took off my clothing, sat under the fan, and I thought that's as much as I can do today because it was exhausting in the heat.
I'm just picturing you sitting there with no clothes on under the
Oh,
fan.
yeah. Total starfish, either lying on the bed or standing directly in front of the fan, lifting up the necessary bits to aerate whatever's underneath.
So sexy. So not. All right. But you mentioned something else there that I think is really important. Like, I also went to the shops over the weekend, and you buy basic stuff. We said Dubai. Now you buy basic stuff. Like, not expensive things, a packet of tomatoes and some bread and like a new thing of milk because your milk has gone sour in this heat and with load shedding and everything. And you buy like very, very basic stuff. I'm not talking about expensive snacks or things that you kind of buy as a treat for yourself or any of that. This is
Your
just
essentials, basically.
the minimum. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you go to the counter, and I'm not talking about Woolworths, by the way. I'm talking about just a Checkers up the road, which is very good. And Leigh-Ann is right. You walk out with 2 plastic bags, and it's pretty much over 1,000 Rand now. You know?
Yeah.
Yep.
And listen, I actually did a comparative shop before I went shopping. I don't ever actually do that. I'm very impulsive. But for some reason, I had a proper list of stuff that I needed because I was making a certain recipe. And so I thought, well, let me check the prices online. And I looked at 2 places online. And Woolworths prices are very good at the moment. I'll tell you that much. They've gone a long way in terms of bringing everyday specials and these like daily rewards. So yeah, don't overlook it ever, and don't feel bad for shopping there because you feel like you're living beyond your means. They've got a lot of good deals.
I'll admit I do. When I go in there, I'm like, oof, what are you saying about yourself that you're shopping here? And don't get me wrong,
they've come a long way.
I don't have a problem with them at all. I'm not one of those people who just disregards them because they seem to have positioned themselves really well as the premium kind of grocery store. And I've often shopped at Woolworths, and I still will from time to time. But I do think when I walk in there, and maybe it's just a branding thing, because I haven't done a side-by-side comparison, but I often think, oof, shouldn't you really rather be shopping over there at that place?
No, you'll be surprised.
For me, it comes right down to the look and feel of the place. Like Woolworths just looks and feels expensive. It just feels that way. It's not necessarily the case.
Well, is it expensive, or is it like a premium brand? Is it like when you're shopping?
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
When you're shopping there, you don't feel like you're necessarily spending more, but you feel like you're in a place that is making shopping a little bit more pleasant. I mean, this is not taking into consideration all those housewives who smash you out of the way with their trolleys and stand in the middle of the aisle, take up the space. My favorite are these people who stand with their trolleys, and they're in the middle of the aisle, and their trolleys parked across the aisle, so lengthwise. So it's blocking, you can't go past. And then they stand and they look up and down at the shelves and they go dum 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 dum.
With no idea that you're behind them.
No, and they don't care.
No awareness.
And when they see, when you go, excuse me, then they look at you like, how dare you interrupt my private experience in this shop?
I always find that there's one person. If I'm in a parking lot and there's like some kind of awkward situation with someone else, or we're both grabbing the same trolley, or we're both in the fruit aisle, it's going to be that person until the last aisle that I keep on bumping into. And that's going to piss me off all the way to the till. For some reason, you find this one person and you keep bumping into them and they're always in the way.
So Carl says our weekly grocery bill's $2,500. That excludes cleaning stuff. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean that's
weekly.
Weekly.
Wow.
XXXM Mensa says Cetic Vision and Music. Fede, what say Khara Klivovo, Leigh-Ann, you sexy thing, and show out to Mfetu da Fede what say me outie. Yes, there's about 10 different like South Africanisms piled into that. Very, very good. Carl says, go and buy a quarter watermelon at Woolies and then one at Checkers, and it'll become clear as to why Woolies is more expensive. Quality, he says.
That's the other thing. The stuff lasts for longer in the fridge.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, some people, like Peter says, he won't set a foot in there, but Chelsea says it's a mindset. I don't know. Steph says, I was in Josie over Christmas. I gave a car guard $50 and they seemed disappointed.
Jeez, I'm still like on the $5 phase.
Can I ask you this? Who still carries cash? Like, what do you really need? Do you draw every week?
Yes, I actually do. A lot of it kind of started with an issue where, let's just call it what it is, when I was a bit povo.
Yeah.
And the debit orders would suck out any money before I had anything left to buy groceries. So I started drawing cash to keep on me for that. But yeah, I find it's quite helpful. Sometimes you're in a queue and the tills will say, is anyone paying cash? And you get to jump to the front. So that's quite fun. But yeah, no, everything's by card. Now you can't even, I tried to order a Woolies Dash using cash. Listen how that rhymed. And you can't pay cash on that. Uber Eats, you can't pay cash on those deliveries. So they're making it harder, actually.
Yeah. I actually stopped carrying cash the moment I stopped smoking cigarettes. Like after that, just on a day-to-day, there was just no need to carry cash.
I hear you.
This is interesting. Slippery Pickle says, I've been shopping at the veg wholesalers. Butternuts, R4.99 a kilogram. Potatoes, R9.99 a kilogram. Red pepper, R11. Each use immediately. Poiki veg, 8 leeks, blah, blah, blah. A trolley full of veg for only R350. That's not bad. But I mean, where do you get these wholesale? Are they all over the place?
That's
I don't know.
It's convenience.
What he was talking about. Yeah.
I wanted to buy mangoes. This is from Bust Sana. I wanted to buy mangoes from one of those mamas on the side of the road. And to my disappointment, she would not take an e-wallet. I never have cash on me. No, the reason I ask about the cash is just because I never have any on me anymore. And then, you'll have a car guard or someone who asks you. And I'm just straight up honest with them. I say, look, I don't carry cash. So I'm really sorry. I don't have anything for you. But I use Apple Pay now for everything.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. I don't even need my wallet on me anymore.
That's cool. Yeah, I think it's the way to go.
I think for me, the dangerous thing about that is if you're not financially astute, what ends up happening is you just keep spending money without taking note of what is left in your account. And in a couple of days, all of a sudden, you've actually got nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing left.
Well, one of the reasons I brought up this grocery thing is here is a full-on drag race between a Checkers 60/60 and an Uber Eats guy. Watch. Sorry. If you couldn't see what was going on there and you're just listening to us, the Checkers 60/60 bike and the Uber Eats bike are both at a drag race, and they're both like rev, and then they go. And I think the Checkers 60/60 guy wins. Yeah.
Yeah, the Checkers wins. Clearly wins.
It's like a whole community thing, though. I mean, when I have something delivered now, you see the bikers, the delivery guys from all different types, whether it's directly from the restaurant or from Uber or whatever, Pick and Pay. they all know each other and they're all like hooting as they go past each other. Well, that's what I'm presuming. You're like,
well, they do because they all wait in the same places. I mean, if you've ever seen
true.
Around where all the takeaway places are, you'll just see like hundreds of bikes, and these guys are all sitting around there waiting for their orders to come in. So they talk to each other. They probably have to.
Sure.
You know, they all know each other. It's very cool. All right, like we were saying earlier, there's lots of news. There's lots of stuff we didn't even get a chance to talk about this morning. We've got to call it quits though for today, Monday the 23rd of January. I hope you have an awesome day, and whatever you get done today, power to you. Let's make it happen. Let's get this country up and running. Make it work this week, because there's no excuse now. Anyone who isn't back at work by now, you're just you're lazy. That's all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Or unemployed.
Or unemployed. That's it.
Yeah,
you can't possibly, you can't possibly be pretending to do something after the 23rd, or pretending to still be on holiday for, whatever bullshit reason you can come up with. If you're still on holiday now, you're just lazy. Sorry. All right, everybody, have a happy day. We will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. bright and early. Thanks, Ass, and great to see you, Jack. Always, my friend. Nice to catch up.
Good to see you too, big guy.
All right, awesome. Thank you, peoples, and well done to Judith and Lebo for making it all the way from Dubai this morning. It's great to have them on the show. We will see you tomorrow.